Maybe you were thinking about running.
And have every sister turn on me my senior year?
Might be surprised. You just need something that sets you apart.
The new house mascot. I will be running for president.
You're so clipped.
People are really excited about Alpha. And you.
Get rid of the sloth.
I'm sorry, but it's you or me.
People are just disappearing.
He's a sloth. She can't plan that.
What do you even know about those things?
I know that they're slow.
Slow? Did she look slow to you? Did you see the look in her eye? She's like a cute Chucky.
Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Television. I'm your host, Wes Forsyth. Today's date is November 15th, 2024. Just a few weeks left in 2024 now. We're practically done with it. Our guest tonight, well, actually, let me do my co-host first. You got that pulled up. Barbara Jane. Barbara Jane, this is like 2 weeks in a row for you, technically.
Oh, kind of.
Yeah,
from the podcast, yes.
Yeah, we used her new little side project there last week. Anyway, and then our guest tonight is Mr. Brad Fowler, who was at Scarefest and of course was the writer for Slotherhouse. I'm also going to come back to me. I'm going to point out that it is No Shave November, so I'm starting the glorious winter beard. The glorious winter beard will be growing now for a while. And Joe at Bonehead, he reviews The Trap at the 45-minute mark. And I do want to go ahead and say that our thoughts and prayers go out to my friend and co-host, Chad Harlan. He lost his father this week, and I just want everybody to have that on their mind and send him prayers and thoughts. And, okay. Brad, welcome to the show. And I'm just going to go ahead and just blubber on you. Loved the movie. Because most because I'm not as big of a horror fan as you would think I am in this line of work, but I love a good comedy.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate it.
So I want to ask you now. First thing, some little details I want to ask about. Everybody, I hope we won't call these spoilers, but if you haven't seen the movie yet, you really should. And you said it was also streaming on Disney Plus.
Yeah, we're on Hulu, Disney Plus. I mean, you can pretty much find our movie anywhere.
Yeah.
If you were in Japan this April, we had a 4-week theatrical run in Japan. Yeah. Alpha the Killer Sloth was going head to head with Godzilla and King Kong. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. I hope you make a buck every time I watch it, because I've watched it 3 times. So just so you know.
I wish I could say.
Okay, first detail I want to ask you about. For a dude, you seem to know an awful lot about sororities.
No one's asked me that one yet.
Did you actually have someone come in and say, hey, this is some of the weird stuff they did? I'm serious. This looks like it was written by a chick in that part. It seemed very authentic.
Well, I honestly, I really appreciate that. My wife compliments me, and she also shames me sometimes because, like, I'm an actor as well, and she says you never write for yourself; you only write for women. And I'm not sure why that is, but yeah, I just my general belief on writing is you just write for a human. It doesn't. I don't really think of gender at all when I write. Obviously, I think of like what is the current vernacular, which okay, so that takes a little bit of research. And so I looked up, the current vernacular, all that stuff. I watched a bunch of, sorority TikTok stuff and whatnot. But in general, I mean, it's following basic, fundamental story structure, hero's journey, whatnot. Pick a format, and made sure that the language worked. But as far as the weird things that they did in the sorority, I for the most part, I just made that shit up. I figure if you were in for, no, I'm dead serious. Like, look, if you're in for a movie about a killer sloth, well, then I'm gonna throw in a little bit of 80s. Basically, I made an 80s frat, and put a dress on it. That's
Okay,
that's.
Well, I mean, the whole ceremony with the robes and everything. I mean, that was kind of a throwback to, I think Porky said something like that.
For sure. Yeah.
But the trust shower, that threw me. That totally threw me, dude.
Well, I mean, look, in any horror movie, you have to, like, in a movie like this where you're in an isolated location and it's a slasher, you have to find a way to kill a large group of people in one go. Like, there's a million ways to do that. And for whatever reason, this just stuck in my head. I think it's because when I was in a fraternity in college, we had these showers in the basement. That in America, you had your sort of pole in the middle of the shower, right, with all the little heads on it, and the people stand around the shower and do that. And so that it was literally in our basement in the fraternity. So in my head, when I was thinking sorority, I'm just like, I want to do that. And there was a rated R version of this movie, let's just say beforehand. So that also may have had part of it. But anyways, when we got to Europe to shoot this thing, as it turns out, they don't have showers like that, or at least they didn't in Serbia. But yeah, it just sort of, I was just trying to think of a fun way to kill a large group of people that would, fit in with what the characters were going through, which is essentially a night of bonding. So,
one more question, then we'll toss it over to Barb. It's not even a question so much as we're going to discuss this. I would have changed one scene just to keep it real, and it would still been fun.
Yeah.
When the sloth goes to the hospital.
Yes.
And he's speeding down the highway. I know sloths cannot reach the pedals on a car. I know that. So I literally, I would have had the car just rolling down the highway at idle speed. Car, horns blowing, and all that. That's how I would have handled that scene.
Totally fair. You could also submit that sloths can't drive a stick.
I could suspend disbelief for that. I was cool with that. But I had not thought about that.
So it wasn't the stick shift, it was the clutch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you could reach.
I got you. I respect that. That's fine.
Well, I mean, once he got it, Barb.
Hey, Brad. So you had mentioned something about the R rating, and it's funny because that was my first question I was going to ask you. So what I like to do when I'm going to be interviewing someone is I try to go back and see what interviews you've done in the past, so that I'm not asking you 5 of the same questions that you've already gone into.
Well, y'all have already done a good job of that because we've done a lot of interviews and I haven't heard those questions yet so far. So that's, already
Well,
halfway there.
Wes is pretty good at this. He's been doing it for a little while now. So,
Yeah,
but
got me.
so my question with that R rating, I know one of your previous interviews you were saying you were kind of thinking more of like a Terrifier vibe, but with a sloth, more gore, more blood, just more everything into getting it into that R rating. Now it slid back into a PG-13 rating, and I have to tell you, I personally liked that it was a PG-13 rating because much like Wes, I love horror comedy, and I love that
Yeah.
it was mild. You got the gist of it. Okay, she's like killing everyone, but but what? How did you get there from R rating to PG-13, and what made you decide, hey, we're going to go into this light, you know, to start with, and then maybe later date we'll go harder.
Well, I got to give my business partner all the credit in the world. The original draft of the script was R. It wasn't a hard R. It wasn't like a gore flick, although I do enjoy those films. But it definitely, Alpha was a lot crueler. I won't get into what the differences were because basically the bones are the same. I just changed the results um, for a lot of it. But essentially my business partner came in and she said, well, who's really big sloth fans at the moment? And so we started doing a bunch of data research and we found out that there is a really, really large demographic of people that are obsessed with sloths. And we were able to pinpoint the exact moment and time that it happened. And we were able to identify how many sloth products were being made around the world and with whom were buying them. So originally it was like my original idea was to take this thing and have the primary demographic be horror fans and the secondary demographic be that sloth group. And when we looked at the numbers of it, it looked as though the sloth group was not just an American thing, it was a worldwide thing. So we knew if we would shift it to a PG-13, I mean, we knew unequivocally it would be a worldwide film, which it was. We were in over 1,000 movie theaters around the world. And I really, feel very grateful that we made that transition. That being said, the fans that have really, really, become big fans of this have been the horror fans. So though we were able to cast a much wider net with that sort of model and that mindset, but now both Katie and myself feel as though we don't want to take it quite to the Terrifier level, obviously. Plus, it's really hard to get blood out of that kind of fur. But yeah,
Keeping it real here.
in animatronics, if you're going to do this thing practically. That being said, we would like to sort of somewhere in between the two, like sort of in some of those classic 80s horror movies like Jason, where in Slotherhouse, what we did is we did, a lot of the murders, we did cutaways, or you don't see quite. We showed the bodies, but we didn't quite see the ones that would have died the most violently.
Sure.
But I think when we moved to the sequels, I think the general consensus, and I've asked a bunch of horror fans all around the country from going to the festivals such as Scarefest that would you be okay with it going on R? And I mean, I think 100% or next to it, all want to see it as an R. So maybe not, not a hard R, but just a little bit more, and I don't think it's going to take away from the cuteness either if we do that.
Okay.
But we do have a business plan for how we want to go about it that I don't think anybody's ever done before. I just am not going to share that here because I think it's a good idea and somebody will probably snatch it. So
Well, and the element of surprise as well, right?
precisely,
So
and slots move slow, so it might take a little while for us to get the sequel done. So
that's right. Perfect. Thank you. That was great detail. And it's the perfect time for us to cut away for a commercial break.
Are you a fan of horror movies, books, comics, music, and collectibles? Roomorg magazine is for you. Subscribe today to receive 6 or 12 print issues annually and join me, executive editor Andrea Subisati, on an ongoing journey through the horror genre of the past, present, and future. Plus, get access to unmissable special editions such as A Century of Witches, 50 Years of Gore Cinema, British horror movies, and so much more. Roomorg, the world's premier horror and culture and entertainment magazine since 1997. Accept no substitute.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. We're talking to Brad Fowler, the man behind Slotherhouse, on Hulu and Disney Plus right now. Okay. Now, first, I'm going to tell you, your wife says you write for women. I'm going to agree with her because you didn't write for yourself. That little skinny little part of you in the being a paramedic.
Yeah.
I'd at least had somebody call me by name.
Well, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it, to be completely honest. I originally had the original version of the script, as well as the first PG-13 version that we had. When we took it over to Serbia, there was a police officer role that was sort of this comedic role where the police officer thought there was a romantic role with one of the girls, but there wasn't. And that's where the humor sort of came, that this guy thought that he was having some sort of, like, star in the sky romance with this girl that's like, what are you talking about? But it was going to eat up another like 6 pages to 8 pages of stuff, and probably another 3 days of shooting. So I literally, while I was in Serbia, I cut myself out of the movie. It was the only logical thing to do. And I mean, acting's like probably my favorite thing in the whole wide world to do. But it made sense to remove that character for what we were trying to accomplish. So then all of a sudden there's this opportunity to have this one or two liner. And, I was like, it wasn't like I was just like, I don't want to do it. If it's, I just don't want to do it. And everybody was like, no, you have to. And so I was like, fine, I guess I'll.
Okay. Now
do it.
I've heard you say this word 3 times. Did you film this in Serbia?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know that was. When you have something that, like, in your brain, it's just like, this is, everybody knows this because this is what I know. Yeah, we filmed it in Serbia. A fun activity, actually, if you want, if you have Hulu, viewers out there, watch the newest Hellraiser and then watch Slotherhouse back to back. We shot it at the exact same location, 1 month apart. While they were literally tearing down their sets, we were doing our scout. And we actually used a lot of the same crew people over there. So if you look, you can actually notice that a lot of the stuff is the same rooms.
Cool. What's that? Okay, now that was exteriors and everything, because that was one thing.
Everything, yeah, everything.
Okay.
Everything. We shot the entire movie over in Serbia, but yeah, it was a place called the White Palace, which I believe is the king of Serbia or the prince of Serbia. It's like his second castle that he doesn't use. So it's weird.
Now I hate to be a dullard, but why Serbia? I don't know anything about making movies.
There's a lot of reasons why Serbia. I'm not going to get into the full historical background of former Yugoslavia, but basically, to summarize it in a very short way, there was a leader over there named Tito, and I think this was back in the 1970s, and he was obsessed with movies with former Yugoslavia, and so he built up a really, really strong film production base over there, and it still is there to this day. So, I mean, you'll see a lot of people are going over to that area of the world, Croatia, to shoot. I mean, Netflix, I believe they have, I think they have 16 studios around the world and one of them I believe is in Romania. But that area is just it's ripe with film talent, and then obviously there's the cost analysis. So what we had is we wanted to make an A level B movie, which nobody does. Everybody, because it's really hard to justify, right? Whenever you're doing a horror comedy, it's one of the hardest things to get an ROI on. So, we knew we had the market there. We knew it would be global, but you still have to be conscientious of cost. And so, being able to shoot it internationally provided us with the ability to, make the animatronic puppet as opposed to having to do CGI to save, an extra 100,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it surprises me. Now, I mean, I guess there are certain productions I would expect to be, like when you said Hellboy, didn't surprise me a bit. But I just think, loading everybody up and getting, because, of course, I guess what film crew,
what we did,
who's actually from Serbia and who's us?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, quite frankly, it was people thought we were crazy when we did it because it was really myself, my partner Katie Lanigan, my other partner Mark David, who was also our director of photography, the director Matthew Goodhue, and then a couple of key players that we took with us. But I'm talking maybe a handful of maybe 6 people that we took over to Serbia that were Americans. And then we did fly some day players over and some smaller actor roles. But primarily we cast the majority of our cast out of the UK. So we did we did a Americana sorority movie shot in Serbia using British actors. Now I'll take it up one step further. Are you aware of who voiced the sloth?
No, I have no.
So we knew we needed to find someone amazing to be able to to bring the sloth to life. And so we looked up best voice-over actors on the planet, and at that point they were all out of our budget, and so we did some more digging and we found this guy named Rudy Rock, Rudirok. Your audience should look him up. He is absolutely, I would say, top 5 voiceover talents in the world, and he's in Serbia. He's not in Serbia. He's in Finland. He's in Finland. So we found him, and we found his email, and we just sent him a random email saying, "Hey, we really want you to voice over a killer sloth." And he ignored us for like 3 weeks. And finally, we had the casting director who we hired out of the UK reached out to him in Finland, and finally got back to us. And he's like, "I thought you guys were full of shit."
Well,
but anyways, it was the cast was from all around. I mean, all around the world.
Okay, Barbara, back to you.
So the fact that you kind of played this little very short cameo role in the movie. Do you have any plans of doing like a Stan Lee, Stephen King thing where you're just every movie you're just a little snippet of you in there? Wouldn't that be fun?
Well, yeah, I absolutely do. But I mean, look, with any movie, you don't have 100% control. So, like, I will speak what I'd like to have happen, but ultimately, I'm a team player, and if the teammates that come on board don't agree with it, then we go a different route. But acting is my first love, and I'm very, very passionate about it. So I've written 3 different sequels to Slotherhouse, and I absolutely have small little roles for myself in every one. And I'd like to change my hair and look differently, and hopefully get killed in every single one. That would be my ideal situation. But
I love that.
Yeah.
You know what? That kind of reminds me of the Chucky series. How they have Devon Sawa, like he just keeps getting killed off, and he's like, oh, now he's a preacher or pastor or whatever.
Well, and people love those Easter eggs. People love those little winky wink moments. Like,
I love it. Yeah.
Here's one for you in Slotherhouse. I'll give you 2. two for your audience, and most people won't catch this because you'd have to watch it multiple times to catch it. Two things. One, I am massively influenced by Gremlins.
Yes.
As you can see, here is my original 1984 Gizmo doll.
Gizmo.
That's my favorite doll ever. So if you look though, and this was, and I can't take credit for this. This is 100% the director. But the pizza car that comes up, it says Dante's Pizza, established 1984.
Nice.
And then the other one is we did use CGI 3 times.
Okay.
For the sloth. We didn't want to use it for the whole movie. That would have required, I mean, a whole bunch of issues, but it also would have required us to build out a unit that matched our sloth, which
Sure.
you know, we weren't going that route. But there was some times that we wanted to have the sloth lurking in the background, but it was impossible on the shots that we used to put, you know, 3 puppeteers up as high as they would need to go to be there. So if you look very carefully, there's 3 moments where Alpha is sort of climbing in the background as a little CGI thing.
Well, I've seen it twice. Now
too.
I might have to watch it a 3rd time like Wes.
Yeah.
Now I gotta watch it a 4th time.
I know. It is so fun though. The only regret that I have is that I watched it solo both times. And my mistake, and this is a bad habit, sometimes I'll watch a movie and I'm doom scrolling at the same time. And I learned, you know, once Wes said, do you want to do this? I'm like, hell yes, I want to do this interview. So yes, this is like amazing getting to chat with you about this. But then the second time I watched it, I put the phone down and I really focused on it. And I had so much more fun watching it the second time, obviously. But if, you know, it would be, I feel like this would be a great one to add to someone's Halloween list. Every year, put it in the rotation because it's just fun to watch with more people, I think.
Yeah, well, and my wife, I talk about her a lot. She's so smart. She talks about it all the time. She said, you know, you want to make stuff that people can be scrolling and still enjoy. You know, it's like you can, like, look, I'd love it if everybody was a captive audience and gave Slotherhouse their full attention. That being said, it is a movie about a killer sloth, and if you want to check out for a couple of seconds, you can still check back in and still have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's really what we want to do. And in the sequels, every one of the sequels that I've written so far is exponentially more insane than this one. And that's the whole thing. Like, we'd love it if you could be off. Oh shoot, the kid just spilled the ice cream in the other room. I gotta go out. And then come back and you can just jump right back in and oh no, I missed a plot point. Who cares? You know what I mean? Just have fun with it. You know,
I agree.
And get that body count up and let's let Alpha do her thing.
That's for sure. I want to squeeze one more question in before the break. Can we talk about Zenny? Because like she was my favorite character. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, fingers crossed, hoping that you are planning to use her, that same actress. I'm hoping you plan to use her. Is there anything you can say about if we can expect to see her in any of the sequels?
Well, again, until you've got things financially greenlit, you can't say for certain on anything. But the reason I wrote 3 different versions of the next script, first of all 3 of them could go in order to make a full arc, or they can be like individual one-off movies. But I will say I wrote all 3 of them have Zenian in them. Not all 3 have all the characters in them, though. I wanted to do something so that we could follow each of the characters' arcs sort of in a different way. So each one of the sequels follows a different one of the characters and where they went from this experience. But Zenny is she's just a crazy, weird character, you know, and that's what we wanted her to be. We wanted her to be basically like just out of her mind.
It's like a feral wild child, right?
Yeah, and we wanted her to basically match Alpha's ridiculousness, you know.
Yes.
That was the idea.
Well, my favorite part, right by the pool. The pool scene. Yeah. That's great. All right, I'll let Wes take it over for the second commercial break.
Cool.
Okay, everybody,
Yeah.
coming up, the Central Kentucky Mystical Market. That is November 30th and December 1st at the Clarion Hotel on Newtown Pike in Lexington. So centralkymysticalmarket.com or just go to scarefestweekend.com for more information. And the Caribbean Carnival is a thing. February 15th, 2025. Mystic Luna Events. Get my little paper here. Come join us for a night of tropical fun and excitement on Saturday, February 15th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Sip on refreshing cocktails and dance the night away to the rhythmic beats of the Caribbean music. Don't forget to dress in your best Caribbean-inspired outfit to truly immerse yourself in the festivities. Whether you're looking to unwind and relax or party the night away, the Caribbean Carnival has something for everyone. I need advice on Caribbean-inspired. Anyway, and everybody, if you like me, hey, come on and support me. Patreon.com/ScarefestRadio. Patreon.com/ScarefestRadio. We got some podcast projects that I'm starting to release. Hitting the content page. Sometimes it's just me bitching about stuff. Hey, I gave some insider information this last week about Scarefest. So, sometimes it might be worth it. Anyway, you can get in there for $1 a week, $1 a month. So, Patreon.com/ScarefestRadio. Back to my guest. Brad Fowler. We're talking to Brad Fowler tonight, the man behind Slotherhouse. Okay. Now, you say acting is your first love, Brad. And I understand that. When I was young, I wanted to be an actor. Then I realized I can't do it without overacting, so there's no point in even trying. But, now how does the writing part fall into that? Is that your second love, something you've always done? Tell us about bringing this to fruition.
Well, it's an interesting question. They honestly are completely hand in hand. At least for me, the primary method that I use as an actor is I build out memories. So I'm a very method-ish actor. So what I do is I create false memories to support whatever it is that I'm living. So I don't like to talk in terms of character. I like to talk in terms of I. So what I would do is I would create memories that support whatever it is that I'm going to go through in the film. And I make those memories so detailed so that I will have emotional responses to them. Then I will record myself saying those memories and then listen to them until the point where I can see those memories in my dreams. It's wild. One film I recorded, I think it was 36 hours worth of memories. And you add that up, that's how many movies written. So for me, it was a likely transition. I mean, I started off in stand-up comedy, so that's a form of writing. And then with the acting, I use the writing to basically support the character work, and then just sort of put it together towards screenwriting, and it sort of works hand in hand, I think. Yeah, love them both, though.
I guess the reason I'm asking that, and I don't want this to sound personal. It's not. I didn't know who you were as an actor, but
that's fine. Yeah.
But I mean, Slotherhouse. I'm trying to think. You were at FrankieCon, weren't you?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that's when Brandon came up and said, "You got to watch this movie," and I think I did not long after that. But I mean, hey, and once again, kudos. My wife even enjoyed it, and she doesn't like horror movies.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, I understand you wanting to be an actor, but I think you've got a real gift here, dude. That I would just throw everything I had into writing.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's what I've done. Again, I gotta give my wife credit yet again. So it was around 2016 where you know, she said you're getting some real traction with your writing, and you know the acting stuff you're not so much. And you know your ego that hurts a little bit, but it's you know you got to be smart, you know. So I did. I put all my effort into writing. I still will work as an actor whenever it comes. I've got a lot of directors that like my work and they come to me from time to time to work on a project. And if I can do it, I do it. But if not, I you know it's whatever. But I'm not actively pursuing. I'm not like go out. I'm not knocking on doors trying to get an agent or a manager or anything. I will work as an actor whenever I can get it, but I do put all my effort into writing. So I try to write um, probably eight scripts or so a year. I'd write more if I had the time, quite frankly. But usually my writing process, I'll sit down and if you give me 6 days, that's my typical turnaround time for a script. So that's really where I put my effort. Yeah.
Barb, over to you.
Thanks, Wes. So 6 days, really? That seems so fast. Now, as far as do you need to have a certain, do you basically close everything off for those 6 days and just focus solely on this, or how does that process go for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm just a real crazy person when it comes to structure. So like I'm all about making sure that a script is structured. So when I say the writing process, I mean, it takes me 6 days to turn around a script. I don't think I've had a script take me more than 6 days in the last decade. That being said, that doesn't include the research. I will usually, I don't touch my computer until I know what I'm talking about. Um, I got hired to do a movie that was about five. It was a coming of age story of five women in their mid to late 60s um, in Sonoma in Sonoma, and that required a lot more research because I didn't know enough about the characters that I was being asked to build out. You know, but if it's a horror movie, you know, I'm working on a slasher movie right now. Uh, that doesn't particular. Sure, if it's built off of some sort of existing lore, you know, if I'm grabbing some sort of lore from, you know, Finnish folk tales, then I'll probably do a few days of research to make sure that I fully understand that. Um, but once it comes down to the actual building out of the story, it's weird. It sounds crazy, but like I can see the story, I can see it. I could it just visualize it as I'm writing. And the other thing is I can feel it. The characters sort of talk to me and I don't I'm not going to claim that I always write the best stuff or that the words are the right words, but they do speak to me. Which might be crazy, but it is what it is. You
Well,
know.
speaking of the dialogue and things like that, so the dialogue for I keep having to stop myself from saying Slotherfest. I keep wanting to call it Slotherfest. So
That's the next one. No.
I was going to say it could be a festival where people can go to see sloths. I don't know. Keep that in the back of your mind.
If only we had so many fans, that would be lovely.
Right. So now, as far as the dialogue goes, where during the movie you see the pop-ups, which I thought were brilliant, having incorporating social media into it, which is just, I mean, that is our life. That is, we are, as far as, oh, this person has 846 followers, this person has 20,000 followers. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was a brilliant addition to the movie and modernized it really well. Was that your idea, or was that director's
I'd love
idea?
to sit here and take credit for that one. It was not. I got to give credit. I think that was both Katie and Matthew's idea, the director and my producing partner. We all sort of worked together on the creative process. So though my fingers were tapping the keys and the original concept came out of my brain, there was two or three people that added to the creative process of it all. And honestly, that came out of that idea came out of pacing. We wanted it to feel fun. At the end of the day, we're like, we're making a movie about a killer sloth. Like, this should be fun, period. So like it should never feel slow. It should never feel boring. So even during the setup. So we're like, okay, we're going to use the traditional setup tropes of a slasher, a sorority slasher movie, but a lot of those movies, they're great, but there's a dragging moment. And we're like, I think that's inevitable because you still have to establish the characters, but how do we limit that dragging? And we wanted to do that by making the dialogue as snappy and similar to like a Mean Girls as we could, while also adding visuals so that your TikTokers were constantly, interacting with the movie, and also the rewatchability. I mean, if you look, there's a moment in the movie where they're having their sleepover and there's a QR code. That QR code works.
Oh my God.
It takes you to a website where you can buy the t-shirts.
Stop it. Are you serious?
No, 100%. Yeah. No, it 100% works. You can go there and it take you to slotherhouse.com. And we were selling all sorts, and we still are. But yeah, we sold merchandise. We're like, yeah. So we knew in our head when we had that sorority t-shirt, we're like, okay, so this shirt right here, you can get at Hot Topic. But we're like, we want to have other things that people can't get. So we're like, we're not going to give away that sorority shirt. The only way you're going to be able to get that sorority shirt is if you, well, either A, if you go to the website, or B, if you click on that, hey, I wonder what that QR code is. I wonder if it works. And you click on it and it takes you like, holy shit, I can actually get this shirt.
I need to pay attention when I see a QR code in a movie now, because it's not just a dead code usually.
No,
it's usually there for a reason.
Exactly. And we tried to put in a lot of those little Easter eggs. There's another one at the end of the movie. We had at the very end of the movie, we put no AI was used in the making of this film. And we wanted to be the first movie to ever claim that. I don't think there is any other one. There might be. But we tried to put in as many little nuggets as we could. And there's a bunch if you go to look through them. I mean, it'd be fun to do like a watch party with some show or something and have myself and some of the other creators and say, oh yeah, this is when this happened. When we were talking about the ambulance scene, the ambulance coming to the set that day got hit by a car.
No.
Yeah, so we had that wasn't our first choice ambulance.
Oh my gosh. You got the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that one did not, if you look closely, it does not look like an American ambulance.
Oh. I see, Wes, we're gonna have to watch this again.
Yeah.
We definitely have to. Yeah. One more thing before we cut for another break. Now, as far as I'm always curious from day one to the wrap up time, how many days did it take to complete this project?
Oh man.
Can you remember?
Pre-production was about a month. Actual shoot time, I can't remember what the exact days were. Somewhere between like 28 and 34. I can't remember, somewhere in there. I know it was really hard with the puppet. It was slightly more than we thought it was going to be. And then we did another month of loadout, and then post-production took us the longest.
Okay.
Post-production took us about 6 to 8 months. And luckily we partnered up with Paradigm, and Paradigm loved the movie, and they have been just fabulous partners for us. But they found us, which made that portion of the sales process easier as well. But yeah.
Excellent. Was there anything, as far as budget wise, was there anything that kind of you basically said, oh, I really thought it was going to be this, and it's way much more than that?
Well, that is the tricky part. Shooting in Serbia, the things that you think are going to be cheaper are usually cheaper, but then all of a sudden there'll be like just a curveball out of nowhere. Like to have the rain scene was like $500 for the day. That would be really expensive in America. But to get the cherry pickers, which is going to provide the moonlight, that was like 4 times more expensive than it would be in Los Angeles. And you didn't know where it was going to be. Yeah. So all of a sudden it was like, you're like, we're saving. And then all of a sudden you just get cracked in the lip by something you have no idea,
So random.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. So that scene where the girl gets hit by the car on the pool, that was supposed to be a slip and slide. There was supposed to be a pool and a slip and slide. But apparently slip and slide didn't translate to Serbia.
Oh no!
Yeah, we showed up on set in the slip and slide. The first AD comes out and he goes, "It looks like a condom."
No.
It's basically just trash bags. We're like, we can't use that. We cannot use that
At
so
all.
literally, I had like 30 minutes to rewrite it. But there was two things that I couldn't rewrite easily. That scene, because it required, I don't want to get into it. It required one of the main characters to get hurt in a way that,
Oh yeah.
like an accident.
Right.
And the shower scene. I'm like, look, I can rewrite anything except for those two scenes.
Right.
Okay? And sure enough, on the day, it was like, okay, you got 30 minutes. It's either that or we lose the day. It was like, all right, well, let's figure it out.
It's your ability to bounce back after something like that. That's
Sure.
great.
And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
That's right. All right, so I took us a little past, but we'll
Sorry.
take our final break.
Hey, Scarefest fans, this is Joe Lewis, Bonehead Weekly, with this week's review. Now, I was told by someone I like a lot. Now, the Boneheads and Wes also told me this, but I don't care about their opinions, that I need to stop being so negative on every movie. Well, I don't actually think I'm negative on every movie, and I do get the criticism that I complain a lot about the third act, but truthfully, most movies don't do a good job of ending themselves. They have a really great idea, and then they don't really stick to the landing. Trap. It's directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Now, M. Night, I loved him when he first started. There's still a bunch of movies I like. The Knock at the Cabin, or whatever it was called last year or 2 years ago. Thought that movie was fantastic, and that had a really good ending. The positives are this. Josh Hartnett plays a serial killer who's taken his daughter to some sort of teen bop concert. And basically, they've set an elaborate trap at this concert because they've been tipped off with some information, and you'll find out later where they got the information, because you're like, well, if he's so, why does he have, anyway. They have the information, and he is trapped, right? This is a big trap for him, and he's trying to get out of the concert, and he's there with his daughter. One of the positive things about this movie is actual Josh Hartnett. I think he's almost pitch perfect in this film as the serial killer. He does such a good job, and I have never, ever, nothing against him, and now I think he's a really good actor. This is really, in 30 Days a Night, I thought he was miscast. In H2O, who could care less? A lot of other movies. But in this one, I think he nails it. He's not the only one. I give him credit that out of nowhere, I was like, is that Haley Mills? So if you're old enough to remember Disney movies from back in the 60s and 70s, Haley Mills is in this. She plays the doctor who's an expert. Allison Pill, who you may know for some other films, plays his wife, his long-suffering wife. I like the idea and the premise. Problem is once again the execution. The movie isn't terrible, but should you rush out to see it? No. And here's my number one criticism of it. I have a kid, so I would probably want to do anything, and I would do anything for that child. But M. Night's kind of written a movie where 20% of it's a music video with his daughter. The Salika is the name of the performer, and or Lady Raven, and his daughter Salika is playing her, and it's a lot of her music, and it's her dancing, and it's not just like a cut to for a minute and cut back. Like, it'll 4 or 5 minutes on a song. It's a music video for his daughter. Several music videos for his daughter. It's a little too much, and it takes away from the rest of the movie, and it doesn't quite flow. I get it as a dad why you do it. I'm just saying, as a viewer, I have no desire to watch that. His daughter directed the other daughter directed The Watchers a while back, and I reviewed that movie on here. So, should you see Trap? It's okay. It's not the worst thing at all, but if you don't have HBO Max and you want to pay some extra money, then nah. But if you do have HBO Max or whatever it's called, check it out for Josh Hartnett. He's really good in it. I just think he should be in a better movie. His performance is in a better movie. Unfortunately, he's in this movie. It's not one of M. Night's best ones. It's okay. It's on Max. It's not the best thing you ever saw, but Josh Hartnett is really good in it, and it's cool that they brought Haley Mills back out of retirement or wherever she was to do another role, because I was really, as a fan of movies, I was like, yeah, Haley Mills. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. Should you watch it? Yeah, it's okay. Is it the worst thing? Is it the best thing? No, it falls in that category that we've talked about on here a lot of times. Does he get away? Does he not? The movie really sets itself up for many, many sequels that hopefully we won't see unless someone else does them, because if someone else does it and Josh Hartnett gets to play the character, then I'm on board, just because I thought Josh Hartnett was that good in this movie. Seriously, check it out for just Josh Hartnett. This has been Joe Lewis, a Bonehead Weekly. Trap.
And welcome back, everybody, to the last few minutes of Scarefest TV. Brad, Okay. Now, this is probably something you've been asked 100 times in 100 interviews, but I got to know. How did you come up with the idea for Killer Sloth?
Okay, so this is actually a fun one. So my last film is a film called The Voices. It was a psychological thriller. Lynn Shay's in it. She did a fantastic job. But it was a psychological thriller about a mother that was, suffering from schizophrenia and raising a child. And we got distribution on it. It got out there, it got some eyeballs, but it really didn't, get a return on investment, which, I hate to sound like, I'm worried about money, but the bottom line is, as an independent filmmaker, if you don't make money, it's really hard to get investors to give you money for the next one, right? So I was pretty bummed out. We got really good eyeballs, but not a good ROI on it. So, anyways, I had a friend of mine, a little old guy named Bob, and Bob was living down in Florida, and he was like, "Why don't you come down to Florida, relax, chill out with me? We'll have some Fosters, and just kick your feet up and let it go for a little bit." And so I did it, and I went down to Florida, and I'm sitting on his couch, and we're having a Fosters, just like he said, and I'm complaining because he's one of my best friends, and he said, "What's the matter?" I go, "I don't know. The movie didn't make any money, Bob. Like, how am I going to keep making movies if I'm not, like, I'm going to have to get another job?" And he goes, "Well, what makes money?" And I go, "I don't know, Bob, stupid shit." And he goes, "Well, what's the dumbest idea you can come up with?" And I'm not kidding. That is exactly verbatim the words that were said. And within 5 minutes, not only the concept of Slotherhouse was made, but the name Slotherhouse was already, like, within 5 minutes, because we were like, "Oh yeah, Killer Sloth, that'd be dumb. Well, what would we call it?" I'm like, it'd be like a killer sorority movie or whatever. What would it be called? A Slotherhouse, because it's Slaughterhouse. And he's like, well, how would it kill people? I'm like, well, duh, it'd roofie people. And literally, and we just started, like, literally, we were laughing our asses off. And the next week, I went home and I wrote Slotherhouse. And my friend Katie, producer, I pitched her movies before, projects we wanted to do together, and usually she's like, "Yeah, whatever, maybe not." But we sat down for coffee, and I pitched her this idea, and all I told her was the name Slotherhouse, and her eyes lit up, and she goes, "I'm in." And that was literally it. And then we just went through the process of fundraising. And the thing about it is, fundraising for a horror comedy is really hard, because the math on it doesn't always work out. But what we had that supported us is, we knew, we absolutely unequivocally knew this movie would take off. We knew it. As to what degree is, who knows, because who knows what the taste is. But we knew for a fact sloths were really popular, and we knew it would fit perfectly within the genre. So that's sort of where it came from.
Very cool. Well, no,
that's twice you pointed out about the sloths being popular. That just never would have even occurred to me to even look into. I think it's a great idea for a movie, don't get me wrong, but to actually do market research on three-toed sloths.
Well, I was gonna make a Spider-Man movie because I heard those do well, but I couldn't get the IP, so I had to be a bit more creative.
Brad, what you were saying about, like, the marketing and how it was really popular, I did notice it was about 2 or 3 years back. There, everywhere you went, you could see, like, sloth blankets, sloth, but in stores, not just Amazon. Obviously, yes. Everything's on Amazon. But going inside, like TJ Maxx or Home Goods, something like that, I would literally, every time I went in there, look to see, because I have like 6 sloth blankets. Mm-hmm. Because every time it was kind of like, oh, I want to get a new sloth blanket, because you just can't have too many.
Yeah, well, there was, like I said, we did the research, and I gotta pat my partner on the back again for this, because she pushed this. I'm primarily a storyteller that, I like to look at things through business, but that's not my primary. But she pushed for the data research, and we found out that there was, like, I think it was over like 6,000 sloth products being made around the world. So we knew this thing was a global thing. I mean, we were in theaters in Lebanon. I believe it was Lebanon. But sloths they're huge. And they're, quite frankly, they're one of the only animals that are both adorable and terrifying. Like if you get a sloth wet, it's horrific. And so we're like, oh, this thing absolutely can. And the way they move, it's cute, but it's also like, I think that thing's plotting to kill me. So we're like, we think we had something. And then the other thing is, like, if you look at horror in general, like, look, horror fans are the best fans in the world. Like they're along for the fantasy, they're along for the ride. And if you look at almost every horror movie out there, the majority of the villains are ridiculous. They're ridiculous. What, Jason died when he was 11. Next time we see him, he's 8 foot tall.
Yeah. It's so fun,
Jason. I love Jason, but like we suspend our disbelief because it's fun.
Yes.
Like I would beat Chucky's ass in real life. I'm 43 years old. I would beat Chucky's ass. But
I never would have took the son of a bitch on anyway. That was especially the remake.
I just hold his ass. Like, what are you gonna?
I'm actually rewatching some of those Chucky movies right now.
They're fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
they're great.
Look, get yourself some popcorn, have a beer, and have a good time.
Yeah. As a friend of mine would say, buy the ticket and take the ride.
Right, exactly. My favorite. I actually like it when, like, I've been on to what is that, the Letterbox? Like, it's so fun because I have people that like love my movie, and then a lot of people that absolutely hate it. I'm like, I don't care. Just pick a side. Just pick a side. Yeah, you hate the hell out of it. Hate the hell out of it. It's because the people that do like it are like, you're out of your mind. It's a killer sloth movie. What's there to hate? Why are you taking this so seriously? Yeah, and then they argue, and I love watching that. It's like, oh, this is so cool. People are arguing about this dumb idea. This is great.
I have to say, Brad, tonight, this, after having seen 4 or 5 of your other interviews, I'm not just saying this because it's Scarefest TV, but this is my favorite. Like you actually, I was kind of worried on some of your other ones because I was like, oh no, he'll answer a question and then like you weren't really talking as much as you are tonight. And I'm like, what if I run out of questions? Like this could be a thing. So this has been great. This is like a conversation that we're having with you. Like, thanks for coming and hanging out with us. This is great.
Yeah, no, I'm having a good time with this. Like, this is a good time. I will say sometimes when I'm on, especially when you're in a group setting, if you watch in those interviews, I want to make sure that I'm respectful to my team. So I can sort of flap my gums a bit too much. And so, I'm kind of like the silent Bob one. Like if I'm actually given the mic, I will talk more than everybody. But with my partners, Katie and Mark and Matt, whenever we have interviews together, I try to shut up because otherwise I can talk too much, Yeah.
So. Well, honestly, thank you for giving us such a fun movie that we can go back to not even just every Halloween, but just when we feel like just chilling and watching a ridiculous horror movie.
So. Well, listen, I want to thank you all because I mean, I can say this unequivocally. All I want to do really is make movies and tell stories. Sorry. Yeah, so it's really cool.
I cannot wait to see what you do with the rest of the franchise. It's going to be so exciting.
Yes, and
yeah, it's really great to be able to make movies. So
now my home is thus far slothless. I don't have any blankets but I'm really thinking about going on Amazon and getting a little puppet that kind of hangs around your neck. And so yeah, I'll be ready for the sequel. I will be ready.
Oh, good.
I will hit you. I will
be getting that sucker going soon because I know we've got a capital company that's interested in doing it. So that's the first big step, and then it's just getting the team on board for which direction we want to go. And yeah, I really hope that Alpha. I hope she can live on.
I hope so too, and I hope you'll come back and chat with Wes and I, or if there's another co-host at the time. But I hope you'll come back and talk to us because this has really been fun.
Yeah, I'd love to.
It's great.
This is good. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah,
appreciate
Brad. Thank you for coming on tonight. Barb, thanks for hanging out with me. Everybody, we'll see you in a week or so here on Scarefest TV.